Hello, everyone. In this lesson, we're going to review linear equations and coordinate graphs, which is a really big topic on the CSET exam. We're going to be expected to understand how linear equations represent relationships between two different variables and how those relationships can be displayed on the coordinate plane. So let's go ahead and get started. A linear equation is an equation whose graph forms a straight line. Linear means line. One of the most common forms is called slope-intercept form. This is typically written as y equals mx plus b. There are a lot of different variables here, so let me walk you through what these represent. M represents the slope of the line. Slope is how we refer to the rate of change. B represents the y-intercept. The y-intercept is the point where the line crosses our y-axis. Let's go ahead and take a look at an example. Y equals 2x plus 1. Here, following our y equals mx plus b form, we can identify the 2 to be our slope. This is our m value. And the 1 here is our b value, the y-intercept. Let's go ahead and graph this and investigate this a little bit further. When we say the slope is 2, this means that for every increase of 1 in the x, our y is going to increase by 2. Let me go ahead and draw a coordinate plane for us. Remember that our values increase to the left and increase as we go up. So our positive values are going to be to the right and up here. Our negative values are going to be to the left and down here. Our x values go from left to right. Our y values go up and down. When I graph lines, I like to start by graphing the y-intercept. Remember, our y-intercepts are the points where the line crosses the y-axis. That's our vertical axis here. Our y-intercept value is 1. Write our coordinates. The first value tells you the x value. The second value tells you the y value. This point here is 0, 1. Our slope here is 2, and remember that means that for every increase of 1 in the x, which is our left to right, our y is going to increase by 2. So I need to go 1 to the right for an increase of 1 in x, as well as 2 up for an increase of 2 in y. This is where our next point is going to be. You may recall learning about this as rise over run. Our slope is 2, which means we rise 2 and we run 1 because 2 is divided by 1. 2 divided by 1 is equal to 2. We're rising 2, running 1. We can continue doing that to get more points for our line. So we're going to rise 2, run 1. That's another point. And once we have 2 points, I didn't even need this third one here. I can connect them and draw my line. Our line should look something like this. So in order to graph a line, you need 2 pieces of information. You need the slope and you need the y-intercept. Another way to graph a linear equation is by creating a table of values. Let's go ahead and use the same equation as an example. I'm going to make a table with x's and y's. In order to fill out this table, we simply plug in different values of x's and evaluate to see what corresponding y values they have. Let me just try x equals 0, x equals 1, and x equals 2. The values I've picked here are arbitrary. You can kind of do whatever you want. as long as you've picked an x value that is within the range of your x-axis that you've drawn. Now we're going to evaluate. So for each of these, I'm going to replace the x in the original equation with that value and follow the order of operations. So for the first one here, I'm going to keep my scratch work on the right side. Y equals 2 times 0 plus 1. 2 times 0 is 0. 0 plus 1 is 1. So y equals 1 here. Let's do the others. Let's continue. Y equals 2 times 1 plus 1. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. This will be 3. Last one, y equals 2 times 2 plus 1. 2 times 2 equals 4, plus 1 is 5. Awesome. We filled out the table, and now we have ordered pairs that we can plot and connect with a straight line. Let's go ahead and do that. Label our axes. Okay, let's go ahead and start plotting. Let's start with my first row here. X equals 0, y equals 1. X equals 0 is right in the middle there of my x-axis. Y equals 1. That point is going to be over here. I'll label them as well. This is 0, 1. Next point, I have 1, 3. X equals 1, y equals 3. 1, 3 will be right here. And finally, 2, 5. X equals 2, y equals 5. In order to graph a line, you actually only need 2 points, but here we have 3, and that's completely okay. Let's go ahead and connect these, and that's our graph. One thing I'd like to share about slope is that the value of the slope actually describes how steep a line is and what direction it moves. So for example, our slope here was 2. A positive slope means that the line is going to increase to the right. It rises from left to right. If your slope was negative, for example, if I had a -2 here, our line would actually fall from left to right. So it would go down towards the right. Now, what happens if your slope is 0? Let's say I had y equals mx plus b, where m was 0. Well, 0 times anything is 0. So you would just end up with y equals b. And remember, b is simply a number. Let's say I had y equals 3. Well, if I plot this, y equals 3 represents all the places where the y value is 3, which might be a little bit hard to imagine, but it's actually going to be this horizontal line here. Everywhere across this horizontal line, the y value is equal to 3. So we plot it like this. Not exactly a misconception, but a very common mistake is confusing the x and the y coordinates when plotting points. So I showed you earlier how we looked at the chart and how we plotted those points here. It's really important not to get confused about which way is x and which way is y. Our x values go left to right, so it's horizontal. Our y values go up and down. That's vertical. So to summarize, let's remember these key ideas here. Linear equations describe straight line relationships between variables. And ordered pairs locate specific points on a coordinate plane. Having a solid understanding of linear equations and graphs is going to help us with interpreting data, solving real-world problems, and building those algebraic reasoning skills that we'll need on the CSET. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next module.